Hi, hello, and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going from corporate drone to corporate dropout. You know it, you love it. Welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. And it's a Tuesday, so we're going to talk all about goals. We are not quite at the end of March, therefore we are not quite at the end of quarter one. So this is just a kind of quick update on goals. If you want to share your updates in the comments, feel free to do so. But also talking about our goals for this week, this last week in March and the last week of the quarter before we jump into quarter two, all of the goals there, how we're making up for any ground lost in quarter one, and how we're going to continue to reach towards those 2025 goals that I talked about in the last Tuesday goals episode. So, that being said, it is Tuesday, and I always do my goals on Sunday on the weekends, and we're looking at some big hitters in the next week. So for March, what have we not closed yet? We have not closed 150 subs on Twitch because I haven't been streaming. I'm putting more of an effort into YouTube, the podcast, and I actually did make a decision. I've been long since toying with the idea of splitting out my gaming content from my fitness content on YouTube, and I did it. I made all of my things that I was previously doing on one channel, 3 separate channels. So now I have a gaming, which is Casey the Fit-ish Gamer or something like that, and then my fitness, but for gamers, channel, which is Coach KC, which is where I plan on doing a lot of the know, like, trust of bringing clients into my community and potentially getting new clients. And then obviously here on Chaos and Fuckery, the podcast. So from a small business perspective, the reason I did that was just to keep everything separate. In the future, where all of these channels are independent and functioning on their own, they're not correlated. They're not like a lot of gaming channels where you have your main channel where you do your edited videos and then your VOD channel where you just throw up whatever is from Twitch. All of these concepts could potentially be separate businesses, right? A sponsor that I get for Coach KC is a very different sponsor than what I would get for this podcast, because this podcast could be something like Trello or I don't know, QuickBooks or the VPN guys. Like, I could actually use a VPN sponsor on this podcast. And I've talked a little bit about like sponsors that I would work with and sponsors that I wouldn't in a previous episode, that I might do another one again now that we've officially launched this, talking about sponsorships and things like that. But that is the reason I separated everything. As a small business owner, it can be difficult, especially as a solopreneur, to manage 3 different channels. But at one point, I was doing 3 different channels. I was doing my other podcast, a cosplay channel, and my Coach KC. So I've done it before. It's not completely absurd, especially given that I was already planning on editing gaming content anyway. It's just changing up the strategy a little bit. So I can check off yet another 2025 goal in the form of launching my VOD channel, because it's just a whole gaming channel. If I want to live stream from that channel in the future, then it doesn't intertwine with my fitness stuff, and I can put VODs in both places. If I want to do a fitness segment on Twitch, I can take that VOD and stick it on the fitness channel, and then all my gaming content on the gaming channel. So I can do both and not have to worry about them convoluting in the algorithm, not understanding who I am and what I'm doing. And I'm doing a similar thing with TikTok too, where I'm going to be focusing purely on fitness stuff and no longer sharing a lot of my gaming stuff to that specific TikTok. If TikTok survives yet another ban, then maybe I'll think about creating a gaming TikTok specifically to grow a separate gaming platform that's the fit-ish platform, if you will, that then ties into the fitness channel. But from a goals perspective, it made more sense to me to have 3 separate channels, 3 separate instances of potential sponsors and AdSense revenue and everything else to stabilize all of the pillars of the business, just like when I had a podcast and the other channel. So yeah. And from an LLC perspective, right, and if you want to separate it into separate businesses, I would have the gaming channel and Twitch under one business, and then the fitness business would be my coaching, so that when tax season comes around, like it is right now, it's not super complicated to decide what purchases were for business, because I'm getting to a point now where I do so many random things that almost everything is a tax write-off, right? Some people make the joke that getting a haircut for a content creator is a tax write-off because they're on screen. And I want to be able to separate each business entity as they continue to grow and make that a little bit easier to really know what my businesses are, how they're each individually functioning rather than one giant conglomeration of random content creation. So yeah, I did separate it. So there's a 2025 goal that we're checking off. And then more goals, right? We are not subscription. We are one follower away from 150 on Twitch. But like I said, I'm putting more interest in growing my YouTube and creating better videos to have a backlog of videos going out on YouTube so that I can launch the gaming channel separate. And then I'll get back on Twitch. So that one may or may not come in under 200 pounds. We did weigh in today, and that sounds ridiculous for a personal trainer, but it is something that I'm working towards and have been working towards. And we should make that by the end of next week. Ironically enough, we should make that. Perfect month. We're on track for that, but we won't obviously know till the actual end of March. And then 3 new clients. Unfortunately, that's not happening. With all of the changes I've been making in the business, while I could potentially make it, right? I plan on doing a scholarship this week. I am currently announcing and launching that scholarship this week. That way, it's possible, right? 1 of those new clients would be the scholarship winner, and then 2 would be at a significant discount if I had a ton of applicants in the scholarship realm. And while it's possible, it's not probable. And that's purely due to me. I can't say that is due to anything else. I did the work in January and February to create the content and create the connection with my community and start talking to people more, but I didn't really do the work to bring them into my individual community. And that's where I'm struggling a little bit, is connecting with people without them just magically coming to me via the algorithm. And that's okay. I can make up the ground of not gaining the clients in quarter 1 because I knew quarter 1 was going to be a lower outcome when it comes to new clients coming in the door. So I can make up that ground in quarter 2 for sure, and I likely will have to, and I'm okay with that. Let's see. Successful scholarship, that is running this week, so we will get the results on that when we talk about quarter 1 in next Tuesday's episode, I suppose. A successful stream celebration. So I planned on pairing a stream celebration with the scholarship, but I'm thinking that maybe I just pair my website launch and YouTube video and things like that with it rather than a whole big stream celebration. I'm just not in the mood for a big long stream. I really only like doing that for my birthday, and I don't want to do 2 a year. I want to do one big one at the end of the year and call it a day. So there's that. We did pay off our car. We did do that as a March goal. And next week will be the time where I book my trip in June to Hawaii. I have been procrastinating doing this because it is a bigger conversation with my husband, and I don't love having money conversations and things that are difficult, but I need to go support my family for that event, so I'm going to book it whether he wants to go or not. I'm booking my trip, and I'm going to have a good vacation, and hopefully all of the business successes will be something I'm celebrating in June by the time that comes around, rather than dreading my decision to spend not an insignificant amount of money on a vacation to a wedding to support my family. I would never regret doing something for my family, but when things are as crazy and chaotic as they always are in my life, sometimes spending a big chunk of money like that can be a big risk, especially this far ahead of the time frame of which that I am spending it. So there is that. That is a recap on March goals thus far. Let's recap last week's goals. Nothing happened last week. Let's be real. I launched this podcast officially. I am launching the VOD channel, gaming channel officially, and I'm revamping. When I say nothing happened, I mean nothing of my original schedule plan happened. I am revamping the entire process of which I was following, where I am splitting all these channels separately and looking at the new upload schedules and looking at how do I want to change my content to still be 2 videos a week on my main channel to be able to grow my audience there. I've had a really good week. I'm almost at 150 subscribers on that channel, which for me as a small creator is fucking amazing, especially given that I just hit 100 at the beginning of March. So getting all the way to 150 already with minimal videos, long form videos going out is kind of crazy. I am putting in the work now, and hopefully that'll pay off in the form of clients. And I say hopefully, but I know it will. I know as I'm continuing to be more vocal about the issues in the fitness industry, and as I'm continuing to be more vocal about the things that I do and don't support as a creator, as a business owner and things like that, it should help some of the internet culture, if you will. But also I'm putting more time into me, and that is a huge goal in 2025 that I've had since the beginning. While I didn't officially write it down, there was a lot of inward looking and thought process when it comes to me, how I feel about the business. And if you are a fellow small business owner that has dealt with these kinds of things where you feel selfish for putting the time into your business, because that is something I struggle with when I set these goals. It sounds insane. It sounds very vapid and very self-centered when I'm like, yeah, I want to be a creator that's making X amount of money on each platform, and I deserve these. I would never say I deserve anything. Let's be real. When it comes to these goals, these are hard ass fucking work I've put in. I don't deserve any of this, and I appreciate all of the support that any of my community gives me, whether it just be a simple like or actually becoming a client. I would never say I deserve any of it. If I do grow to be a large creator, I would never say I deserved it. I earned it for sure, but I would never say I deserved it. Even if I got big, I don't deserve my community. I earned my community, and I will always put my community, my family, me first. And I've said this 100 times before, but like, if we ever had kids, you will not see any of that content for me as a creator. That is a hard line in the sand. We don't even... Yeah, I've heard a lot of creators that are now bigger regret that they started with their legal name. And I listen to the mistakes, if you will, of other creators that I look up to, and there's so much more to how building some of this is going to impact the larger sphere around me. And sometimes being a small business owner and putting time into the business and putting time into myself and literally being proud of myself for gaining X amount of followers or subscribers sounds absolutely vapid and self-centered and not the way I was taught, if you will. I mean, I grew up in a very middle-class family that worked very hard to get what they have and weren't always as well off as we became later on in my life. And while most people who still know me to this day didn't know me in those younger years, some people did, and some people knew the difference between what I was capable of doing as a high schooler running around, slightly more self-centered, if you will, and what I was capable of doing when I was a lot younger. And I respect that hustle from my parents a lot. They did the alternating shifts thing so that I wasn't going to daycare. And I respect that hustle, and I love that hustle that they passed down to me and drive. But at the same time, I want an easier life than they had. I don't, and I already have gained a much easier life than what they had simply by not having a kid at 20 years old. But to that same point, to eventually gain and to want to gain a life that is simply creating things on the internet and coaching people via the internet and owning businesses that help my local community, where my entire job is to just run businesses and be a decent human being, that sounds insane to me. It sounds absolutely crazy that my goals are currently centered around people liking what I do on the internet. That's so wild to me. And I get it. I do. I get why people want to be creators. It's intoxicating when it goes right. And it's also miserable when it goes wrong and you end up on the wrong side of the internet, especially when you're a new creator and suddenly go viral for no reason. I would love to say that I will never enjoy the ease of leaving a 9-to-5 and being a creator, because I will, but it's not right. I think a lot of creators I'm talking creator goals, right? Creators get hate for not having real jobs, if you will. But the reality is the consumers are who give them their platform. If you want that person to go get a real job, stop watching their content. if that's really what you want, but that's not the reality because everyone loves entertainment. It would be the same. Do I think actors should get paid what they do per episode? No, but we allowed them to get to that point. So what do you do with it now? That's the lifestyle they've become accustomed to. Similar to when you get a divorce and a wife gets alimony. That's the lifestyle she's been accustomed to. You created that for her. So would love for my goals to not be so centered around subscribers and getting new clients and people wanting to work with me, but that is the reality of building a small business as a solopreneur on the internet. Your goals have to be surrounded around people liking you. And that's such a weird concept to me still. I like to not be perceived in the normal everyday life, but on the internet, I don't mind it so much. It's a very weird conundrum, and I am sure other small business owners who have entered the internet space in recent years understand that if you suddenly had a huge following overnight, if you will, I'm not saying that that's happened to me, but I can understand the craziness because the parasocial relationships on the internet, I don't know. Goals are, like I said in the previous episode about goal setting, I struggle setting things, I struggle saying them on the internet, right? Even sometimes when I'm going through the goals and checking in with you guys in this podcast, I would feel better if other people were checking in with me, you know? And it wasn't just about me. I could celebrate other people. And that's what I love about being a coach, right? It's not just about me. Yes, my content is me centered, if you will. But when I'm coaching them behind the scenes and you don't see all the conversations I have with clients who are just struggling to figure out the balance between all of this and struggling to shut out food noise, when it clicks, it clicks. And I love that. I love that moment, and I love that the content I create can help people. And that's why I love the content creation, is it's helping people in the long run as I get more visibility. The goal is to help people. It's not to center myself in all of this. Yes, it is also to build a business, but it is life-changing for me on a spiritual level, if you will. I don't know that spiritual is the right word, but mental, to see it click. And it's the way some teachers talk about teaching kids. Same kind of concept. And it will be the same when I open the dance studio. To watch a kid get their first fouettes or watch a gymnast get their first advanced skill on the bars or the beam. I remember those moments when I was a kid, and the difference in different instructors that I had those moments with made the difference in my sport. When I had a really good day in the gym, I had some of the best coaches in the gymnastics world that made me feel fearless. I always preferred going backwards. I never feared backwards facing tricks because they never made me feel like I had to. If I was going down, I knew I would have a spot there if it was a trick that I didn't know like the back of my hand. Whereas as I got older and I had to choose between the two sports and I chose dance, my dance instructor at the end of the day made me hate the sport for a really long time. He was petty and he would tell me that I was too stubborn and that I would never amount to anything, if you will. And I was never the kid that wanted to be a professional dancer. But I never got the opportunity to really enjoy when something clicked and I really got it, because they constantly beat me down to the point that a lot of the times it never clicked. I was never allowed to do solos that I genuinely enjoyed. I hated all of them. They were never me. And I want kids at my studio to not have to experience that. I want kids to be able to experiment and feel safe experimenting. Even if I know that this kid is a better jazz dancer than a lyrical dancer, if it's a solo, let them experiment. If they want to try a lyrical solo, let them and see what happens. See how hard they'll work for it. Because and I guess, I don't know, there is a love that I have for that kind of stuff that makes me keep doing this, even though some of it requires me to be a little bit self-centered and a little bit vapid, because I always struggle with that. when it comes to setting these goals, I struggle between spending time with my husband or getting a video done. And I struggle between going to the gym for myself or putting a TikTok out. The balance right now obviously isn't there. And you have to hustle a lot in the early days of a business. And I knew that coming in. The hustle is a non-stop hustle. Constantly checking for notifications, checking for comments, checking for messages from clients, making sure that my clients have all of the programming they need and that they don't need anything from me and that I've done their check-ins, but realizing that at the end of the day, some of these things are necessary for the goals to get those moments is what keeps me from feeling like I am just a self-centered asshole when we're talking about goals. I feel like when I'm out here saying I want a 10-acre property in the middle of nowhere to go off the grid, I'm saying crazy shit because some people can't even afford to buy homes in today's day and age. It sounds like entitled influencer shit, but it's not. It's something I want to work towards, and if I get the opportunity, will do. And I don't like even saying if. I like to say when, because at some point, the house I'm sitting in was an if. But it's hard not to feel super self-entitled and self-centered when you're talking about building a business that is kind of focused on you to a certain extent. Hi, I'm a coach, hire me, is essentially what I'm saying every time I log on to the internet and put out a piece of content. And I've always struggled with that. I've struggled with marketing tactics in general because I don't want people to feel like I'm just helping them because I want them to hire me, because that's never been my intention. I'm not messaging you and giving you tips just because I want you to hire me. And I feel like the industry has gone out the window because of that. So many people, especially in like 2020, took advantage of the fact that people couldn't go to gyms. People were reliant on online information on how to work out at home. And that's great that they were able to get some help, but there was also a lot of scammers that came out of the woodworks because of it. So I don't know. When I look at my goals, I want them to be more client focused. Get this client to this place and this client to this place. But at the end of the day, it's my business. It's not my client's business. It's mine. And it is about me. And it's nobody else's business. It is about me. Until I open my brick and mortar, where it then literally becomes about the clientele, the online space is about me. And I struggle with that a lot. So yeah, that's my goals for this week. I am rearranging everything. I'm doing my scholarship this week, and that's my main focus. I'm going to focus on the scholarship and getting back to clients and doing free assessments for anyone who wants them as an extra piece of the scholarship. If you're not a scholarship winner, you can either take my discounted rate or do a free assessment. Well, that would be like the sell down, I guess. I will obviously offer them the discounted rate first and then a free assessment if they can't afford that either. But welcome to the end of quarter one, where I feel good about some things. I have been consistent with YouTube, and I have been figuring shit out, if you will, with the ending of TikTok and everything else. But also, I didn't hit everything I wanted to hit. So we got some flame to put on the fire, if you will, to get where I want to get by June and to get where I want to get by the end of the year. And that's okay. We've got some work to do. But we'll talk more about that on next week's Tuesday episode. And I appreciate anyone who is here already to follow my journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the chaos of this episode, because it went from talking about goals to talking about how it is weird for me to be the self-centered topic when it comes to business, but also a little bit of a deep dive into my fuckery, because my own internal issues with looking like I am a selfish person has actually stopped me from creating what I need to create and being who I need to be as a business owner. So I appreciate you for being here, and I will see you on Thursday.